Don in London. Hello. December 22nd, my video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My addictive substance was alcohol. My behaviour could be equally addictive towards people, places, things, collecting, obsessing, trying to be right, maybe trying to be perfect, although I never actually went that far in my own thinking about my situation, but I was always trying. Very trying person, and trying to fit in. So I was a bit like a chameleon. If you wanted me to be a certain way, I would probably adopt that attitude and behaviour to an extent, although there are some fundamental principles still underneath which have always been there, and sometimes those principles have gone by the wayside simply because I became addicted to alcohol. And then, I don't know when I crossed the line, and it became an absolute necessity. Fairly late on, I think, or feel. And one of the things I've learned in recovery is it's all about emotional and spiritual well-being. And those words, emotional and spiritual, can sound quite daunting if we found ourselves in a place of absolute hell, where every feeling is unbearable, and the idea of spiritual has completely left us. But the truth is, no matter what we have been doing, we are always having a spiritual experience. The quality of that spiritual experience is dependent upon our ability to see reality as it is, and to engage in reality as it is, and to be part of reality as it is. These are just my words. This is what I've come to understand in recovery, and my recovery program is 1 day long. 1 day at a time, and the reason why is because we only live in 1 day, and to try and fantasize the future about being sober is as difficult these days as it is to try and make the future the way I want it. All I need do is live today, make the best choices I can with a sober head. And sobriety was something I really didn't understand until I tried it. So these days, 1 day long, being sober as best I can, and understanding my feelings. If my feelings fit my experience, then I've got a chance. That is, I'm feeling right in the moment of now. So when my feelings are outside the reality of now, I know either I'm overly upset or overly joyful when my feelings don't fit my experience. But you know, life is full of fun and sadness, happiness, sadness, joy, and whatever it can be on a daily basis. And these days it's quite hard sometimes to see the joy in life when life is tough. So what's made this possible? Well, family, friends, professionals, medical people kept me alive long enough to get to a moment of clarity. And my moment of clarity was simply, I cannot get out of this on my own, and I need help. So medical people kept me alive long enough, family loved me enough, long enough, and I found a fellowship, or it found me, and that fellowship is AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, which is full of unique, authentic people who speak about recovery where they will. I don't speak for AA, never can, never will, never want to. It's not my job, and it's certainly not my mission, but I share about how fellowship helps me on a daily basis, so I share experience, strength and hope. So what is AA? I share the preamble, which is said at every meeting I go to, and it goes like this. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking, and that was the thing that got me. Eventually I had got a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. But you can guarantee that every single person who goes to AA does have some affiliation to their politics, their religion, other organisations or institutions. But we're there for one thing, sobriety. So we hear about what other people are up to and how they're affiliated, but the fellowship is not. And nobody in the fellowship is there to convert you to their point of view, except maybe sobriety. Neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. So we need to be clear what the fellowship can and cannot do. It can help with a desire to stop drinking. It cannot fix you to stop drinking, and it cannot fix anybody to another person's point of view. But if you like their point of view, you're probably going to adopt it. But not around fellowship. Fellowship is for one reason only: sobriety. And the great news is you get to meet loads of interesting people, and I'm very fortunate because I have met lots of interesting people who I've come to be a part of in fellowship, to be included, to be a part of, not to control it. In fact, it's the very opposite of control in learning how to be sober. Once we realise we are powerless over alcohol and life is unmanageable if we drink, we then, having admitted that and accepted it, we can start on a path of recovery. And that path of recovery has a time scale of one day or one moment, because it can be in one moment that we can make a mistake or make a good, what's the word? I lost my words. A good action to keep sober. I have mental blockages sometimes at this time of day. So AA really does help me on a daily basis, and it's in the perspective of, if I'm sober, I can make the rest of, I can't make it, life will happen and I will be a part of it. I share here from the daily reflections, one a day, and December is all about the 12th step of the 12th step program for human beings to change their attitude and behaviour to living well and covering our needs on a daily basis. And then I'm going to share a little bit from the AA Big Book, this one, after I've done the daily reflection. So there'll be an actual turning off point, if you like. So for December 22nd, in the daily reflections, it says this: principles, not personalities. The way our worthy alcoholics have sometimes tried to judge the less worthy is, as we look back on it, rather comical. Imagine, if you can, one alcoholic judging another. And of course we do. When we're new to recovery, we're of the opinion that we know better still than anybody else. So we sit there judging our fellows in the room or the meetings of AA. And what does that do? Well, it says here, who am I to judge anyone? When I first entered the fellowship, I found that I liked everyone. After all, AA was going to help me to a better way of life without alcohol. The reality was that I couldn't possibly like everyone, nor they me. So we do learn that, as in life, there are people we like and don't like. As I've grown in the fellowship, I've learned to love everyone just from listening to what they had to say. That person over there, or the one right here, may be the one God has chosen to give me the message I need for today. And whether it's God or good conscience that you hear in the rooms of AA, it's what you hear. And does it make sense? And can you adopt it, or can I adopt it as a way of, that's a good idea, I'll do that today. I must always remember to place principles above personalities, and often it's from the person we maybe detest most on a particular day because they're still drunk, who is going to give us the message of hope that if I don't take a drink today, I'm not going to be like them. That sounds a bit horrible, and it does sound like a judgment, but it's actually, do I want to behave like that and end up drunk? And the answer is no. Or do I want to behave like that person over there who is having a good time because they've been out, seen some people, done something which is of good to society, or just to a group of people, or to the one they love most, like kiss them goodbye when they go to work. All those things. It can be the very simple, small things in life which make the big difference in how we feel about our day. So, at the end of the daily reflections, I will share the Serenity Prayer now, before going on to the AA Big Book. To God or good conscience, as you come to believe, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference is just for today. And now on to the AA Big Book, and before I go on to that, I was very lucky. Somebody rang me up earlier in the week, and we have a common interest in stonemasonry. I'm not a stonemason, but this person is, and they have a gift, and it's a beautiful gift, and hopefully the result of that might be a very small article which I can get and keep or give away. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do yet, but there's no time scale on it, and it's just one of those things. And we had a great chat, and the beauty of that is to share the inner deep of ourselves about life, just meeting over a coffee in a very cold place, watching the world go by, is absolutely wonderful. It made my day. So maybe small things please me, but it was a big thing for me, because to be on the same wavelength as another human being in the same day and just share time, and there's nothing out of it except friendship and a common interest. That's wonderful. Sounds like a eulogy, but some days are pretty awful for me. At the moment I'm okay. So AA's Big Book, the Big Book, and in chapter 3, more about alcoholism. The first couple of pages really do resonate with me as a human, and a human who's in recovery. And it says here, starts on page 30 in the 4th edition. Most of us have been unwilling to admit we were real alcoholics. No person likes to think he is bodily and mentally different from his fellows. Therefore, it is not surprising that our drinking careers have been characterized by countless vain attempts to prove we could drink like other people. And I do that every day, for a great many decades it seems now. The idea that somehow, someday, he will control and enjoy his drinking is the great obsession of every abnormal drinker. The persistence of this illusion is astonishing. Many pursue it to the gates of insanity or death, or the gates of the intensive care ward, and a priest coming to give you the last rites. Even if you're not a Catholic, they'll still turn up and say, "Don't be so fussy." We learned that we had to fully concede our innermost selves that we were alcoholics. This is the first step in recovery. Step 1, admitted and accepted. I'm an alcoholic, and if I drink again, life will get unmanageable. The delusion that we are like other people, or presently may be, has to be smashed. We alcoholics are men and women who have lost the ability to control our drinking. We know that no real alcoholic ever recovers control. All of us felt at times that we were regaining control, but such intervals, usually brief, were inevitably followed by still less control, which led in time to pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. In other words, rock bottom. We are convinced to a man that alcoholics of our type are in the grip of a progressive illness. Over any considerable period we get worse, never better. We get worse, never better, and we think we can have another go and try it. And it's okay for maybe the first drink, and then suddenly we're there. We want that fix, and of course the more we drink, the less the fix. We are like men who have lost our legs. They never grow new ones. Neither does there appear to be any kind of treatment which will make alcoholics of our kind like other men. We have tried every imaginable remedy. In some instances there was a brief recovery, followed always by a still worse relapse. Physicians who are familiar with alcoholism agree there is no such thing as making a normal drinker out of an alcoholic. Science may one day accomplish this, but it hasn't done so yet. And for me the answer is quite simple. When you have an emotional and spiritual illness, our feelings don't match our reality or what we're experiencing. The feelings are outside, so we try and fix ourselves. And spiritual, living in the moment, is unbearable. So if it's emotional and spiritual, I don't know that there is a pill for that. And if you're looking for it, you've still got to deal with your emotions and your spiritual in the moment now bit. Despite all we can say, many who are real alcoholics are not going to believe they are in that class. by every form of self-deception and experimentation over years and years and years, as many people will know around them. They will try to prove themselves exceptions to the rule, therefore non-alcoholic. If anyone who is showing inability to control his drinking can do the right about face and drink like a gentleman, our hats are off to him. Heaven knows we have tried hard enough and long enough to drink like other people, but we drink to take our feelings away, and if we can't feel life in the moment, we haven't got anything. We're just deluding ourselves. Well, I'm deluding myself if I were ever to try again, and I quite like my feelings being right-sized for the moment of now. Here are some of the methods we have tried. Drinking beer only, limiting the number of drinks, never drinking alone, never drinking in the morning, drinking only at home, never having it in the house, never drinking during business hours, drinking only at parties, switching from scotch to brandy, drinking only natural wines, agreeing to resign if ever drunk on the job, taking a trip, not taking a trip, swearing off forever, with or without a solemn oath, taking more physical exercise, reading inspirational books, going to health farms and sanitariums, accepting voluntary commitment to asylums. We could increase the list ad infinitum. And for me, all of those things I've probably tried without even knowing I was trying it. You know, I worked hard for 35 years, and I can remember many a Sunday night having poured away all the alcohol in the afternoon so that I didn't have any in the evening, and having a little snooze just to get over the overindulgence, waking up at maybe 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the evening and thinking, well, you know, I'm not so bad really. I'll go down to the market or the bar and I'll have a couple of pints and I think I'm going to be all right. But every single time I took a drink, in the end, it was about blocking out reality. So when I came to fellowship and it said, this is an emotional, spiritual, physical program, what did I do? I started thinking about it, trying to think, what do they mean by an emotional, spiritual, physical program? And you know, I was a counsellor for many years, and I always tried to help people get their feelings to fit their experience. That is, the feelings were equal to the experience they were having. And I overworked myself. I was a workaholic as much as anything. And the only way I found to switch off in the end was to take the edge off me. And of course, what do? We have a drink. So these days, with a bit of luck, I won't bother with a drink, and I will try and see whether my feelings are fitting my experience. And that is, it's second nature, and I don't even notice that I'm either happy or sad. I'm just experiencing life, and it is happy or sad. So my feelings are fitting the experience. And the experience is spiritual, the spiritual moment of now, our ultimate connection to reality. So every time I take something which makes me feel or fixes my feelings in some ways, then my experience is somewhat distorted because I'm trying to manage it. And of course the real way to live is free, making free choices in the moment of now, with due consideration for other people, of course, which is part of what we learn, to be a part of life, not control others, people, places or things, and live happily ever after in one day. So, as you can tell, I'm pretty happy this morning, on this December 22nd morning. The Serenity Prayer, which will help me at any time, and it's a prayer or a reflection to God or good conscience, because it is about your understanding of God, be you atheist, agnostic or believer, or changing your opinion on a daily basis, or simply aware that there is a higher good conscience that we all have, which takes account of everyone, and not just me. So to God or good conscience, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference for me is just for today. DonInLondon, hello, it's December 22nd, 2009. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My addictive substance was alcohol, my behavioural addictions, work, relationships, collecting, materialism, looking right, never feeling quite right, and probably driven by fear of not being good enough, not looking right. So I put up a facade for many, many years and kept people at arm's length. So if it looked right on the outside, you couldn't see what was going on the inside. And I guess I was driven by goodness knows how many forms of fear over the years, maybe less than that feeling, and wanting to be perfect, and never so. It's good to strive to do well, but it can be an impossible ask, not only of ourselves but other people, if we're forever going for perfection. So, my drinking story, 35 years long. The first drink did do the damage. It took the edge off, provided conviviality, relaxed feelings, joyfulness, sadness, sleepiness, happiness, and suppressed my feelings, I guess, when I wasn't drinking. So I wonder, who was the real person? The person who drank or the person who didn't drink? If you saw me when I wasn't drinking, I had a really good act. And if you saw me when I was drinking, I had a really good, effusive act, I guess. But in there was a real person striving to get out and feeling life as best he could. That's me. So what keeps me sober these days? Well, family, friends, society, professionals, with all the maladies one can pick up along the way, and a fellowship, and that fellowship is AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. But it took a long time to get to AA because denial was strong, and my self-will to be determined not to be beaten by a malady or an addiction or a dependence drove me further and further into self-will run riot. And self-will run riot is insanity, because we keep on doing the same thing over and over again and wondering why things haven't got better. And we keep on thinking, well, we'll stop drinking tomorrow, or we'll pour it down the sink and not drink ever again, or not drink for that day. But guess what? By the evening, we're thirsty again. So the fellowship of AA has helped me understand how to be in recovery one day at a time, just simply one day. And it has a 12-step action program, which I'm going to share about in a moment. How to keep sober one day. It's a 24-hour program, no bigger, no small. Well, it can be smaller. Sometimes we just need to practice some of the principles in the moment to overcome our internal, I suppose, an internal irritability or anger or rage or something coming up which is caused by our surroundings, people, places or things, and we need to ask ourselves, why on earth are we feeling this way and what can we do about it? So what is AA? I've shared the statement of intent, or the AA preamble, shared at every meeting I go to, and I'm lucky. There are 700 meetings in London for me to choose on a weekly basis. So the AA preamble reads as this: Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. So my only requirement for joining the fellowship was a desire to stop drinking, and somehow, and it didn't happen straight away, I did. But it's only for today. And the primary purpose is to stay sober and help others to achieve sobriety. What a gift, to pass it on, share it, be a part of, and do something for other people, be useful. So what are these 12 steps? Well, they're about action to change attitude and behaviour, and I'll just run through them very briefly, as time is always against me. So step 1, powerless over alcohol, and life can be unmanageable when drinking. without a doubt. So if I accept powerlessness, which is drinking is not for me, and really accept it, and don't worry about it anymore, life gets manageable again. And step 2, being restored to sanity on a daily basis. For me, I can go insane on any one day with my feelings, where others or places or things evoke memories of how it used to be. And there were a lot of good times in my drinking days, of conviviality as well as sadness. So I know I have been restored to a place of sanity by the help of other people. And for some people say that's God works through people, or good conscience. Whatever it is, the higher power works for me. And step 3, let go, let God. And it's the God of one's own understanding. So for me, God is truth, the universal truth, not the truth I know today, because it's only as good as I know. So there's always more to learn. So let God, let the good happen. Or just let good conscience be our guide, and the good conscience of other people. Don't try and do it on my own. I'm not in charge. And step 4 was all about doing a fearless moral inventory of my assets and liabilities, the good and bad of me, and almost also my experiences. What will drive me backwards into fear, brave facing, and ego, and what will drive me into a gentle day, a bit of courage, faith, and confidence. And having done the inventory, share it with another person, so that I let it out, express it. And then step 6 was about what to do about my defects of character, and I've mentioned those already. Fear, putting on a brave face, and ego lead to every single malady, if you like, in my underdeveloped courage, faith, and confidence. So defects of character, I can have a step 6 day full of fear, brave facing, and ego, or I can have a step 7 day full of courage, faith, and confidence. Or if I'm lucky, I get a bit of both. And step 7 is all about dealing with my shortcomings, not enough of courage, faith, and confidence. So from fear to brave facing to ego to courage, faith, and confidence, there's a balance in there, as life is happening, life happening today. And I can be upset in any moment. I need to forgive it, forgive the cause, because the effect is on me and not on anybody else. And then in step 8, made a list of people I needed to make amends to, and be willing to make them. Willing being the answer, the actual key. List, willing. And then the amends, those I can make amends to now. Those I need to make amends to as time allows it. And some amends might be very difficult because it might harm other people. Then the maintenance steps, step 10, all about taking an inventory of what's worked and what hasn't worked on a daily basis. And then step 11, prayer and meditation. Whether you're atheist, agnostic, or believer, prayer and meditation both work. Prayer is not only about the inner voice sharing something with a higher power, it's also about listening to the good conscience. And meditation is reflection. And then step 12, all about sharing the message with others. And I can't do the message sharing unless I understand the other 11 steps and live them as best I can. And the gift is, it's a practical program, and I'm making progress. So simply making progress. I always say step 1 in the morning to myself, I am powerless over alcohol, and if I took a drink, life would become unmanageable. And I also believe I'm powerless over people, places, and things, and I'll leave them alone to make up their own minds and choices. But I can make my choices today, and that's always good. And reminding myself always that the insanity is there to go back to if I want to, or fall into that trap. I don't want to, and I don't want to fall into that trap. So I keep on doing the steps. Let go and let good, or let go and let God. Well, I'm lucky, because I'm just learning on a daily basis. And the serenity prayer is something I say internally as many times a day as I need to God or conscience. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference is always for me, just for today.